Today we begin the 21st letter of Igeres HaKodesh. This letter, like many of the letters, deals with charity. The underlying theme is about, in Hebrew, what we call zrizos, swiftness. How swift are we? How quickly are we engaging to do good? Particularly when it comes to charity. But all mitzvahs, all good. The human condition is that we want to enjoy life, and the good that we do, we enjoy, but the comfort. So, I'll watch this, then I'll do the mitzvah. I'll eat this, then I'll do the mitzvah. I'll, many things that are of my particular pleasure, enjoyment, comfort, we do first. And then we'll do the good, because the good usually is demanding a little bit. And usually we have to go out of our comfort zone to some degree, whether it's to help a friend, whether it's being charitable, whether it's learning Torah, praying, davening, whatever it is. That is the natural manner. So the Alter Rebbe, this is what he addresses in a particular context, but there's the message that is something for us, not just in this particular context, but beyond. So the Alter Rebbe in this letter begins by saying, having first duly inquired about the welfare of those who love God's name. They love God's name means they love to do in the name of God, for the sake of God, right? People who are willing voluntarily to give of themselves. And in this particular discussion or letter is those who have volunteered to give charity to, and what it means volunteering, tzedakah you have to give. You have to give 10% of your net earnings minimally to charity, minimum. Maximum 20%, unless you're very wealthy, then you can give, or for other reasons also, which we won't go into now. So they volunteered to give to a cause that the Alter Rebbe was collecting for, and that cause is something we've discussed many times before, is for those who were really destitute, living in the Holy Land of Israel. At the time was under the Ottoman Empire, and people there were like, you couldn't till the soil to even grow things. It was so barren, it was so difficult. And what they would do, his chassidim, they would set aside in a certain sum to give once a year. Set aside a certain amount. Now, the Alter Rebbe says, I know that the strength of your hand is weakened, meaning that times are tough for you, right? However, he says, that shouldn't hamper your giving. And actually the giving that is inspired to give annually, the Alter Rebbe wants that it should be given not just once a year. It won't be the discussion really today. I'll continue that discussion, but it should be given swiftly. What does that mean? So the Alter Rebbe quotes from the sages in the Talmud, saying that at all times one should be prompt in fulfilling a commandment. For every mitzvah, be prompt. Do it quickly. Don't wait. Don't let it. The word mitzvah, al tachmitzena. Don't make it chametz. Don't make it become rotten. How? Because when you hold something too long, it rots. Like, if you have a fruit and you hold it too long, it's going to rot. So if you have a mitzvah at hand and you're going to hold on to it and wait till you've done your thing and then do the mitzvah, it's going to get sour. It's going to rot. So don't do that. That's a general statement the sages say. And therefore, we daven first thing in the morning. We don't daven, later on. We don't put our tefillin in the afternoon. We put it first thing in the morning. We make a bris milah, a circumcision. We try to do it, first thing. There's an idea now. There's a competing idea for a bris, for circumcision, that if you're going to have more people come at noontime because it's lunchtime and people can get off, for example, so then you can do it. Or there's other competing values. But there is this value of that you have a mitzvah, a commandment in hand. Don't hold back in the doing it. Be prompt about it. Where do we learn this idea of being eager to do the mitzvah? We learn it from Abraham, our forefather, Avram Avinu. Now, we all know the story of when he took Yitzchak, Isaac, his son, that he loves, bring him as a sacrifice on the altar. The Alter Rebbe says, interesting, that the fact that he brought his son on the altar is not the greatest accomplishment of his. After all, God spoke to him. God spoke to him, right? And furthermore, there are many people who have given up their lives for the sake of God, and God didn't speak to them. So that can't be the greatness of Avram bringing his son. The Alter Rebbe says, you know what it was? Swiftness. He did it promptly. He didn't, procrastinate. He got up early the next morning after God came to him. And he got up early, and not only that, he saddled his own donkey. Usually he had others to saddle, but for the love of fulfilling God's commandment and to do it swiftly, he did it himself. And that's what the Alter Rebbe says is really his greatness. That demonstrated that he was eager to do the will of God and to give God gratification, his maker. That's what he was interested in. And which tells us something amazing. He is the embodiment of kindness, divine kindness, of love. And to do this kind of act is the opposite of love, the opposite of kindness. Take your child and bring as an offering. It's quite the very opposite. Meaning he had to use his attribute of gvura, of severity, which then shows the very fact that he did that. He did that because he's prompted out of a devotion to God to do things promptly as a result. So the Alter Rebbe says this is the example we need to take. We need to learn alacrity, swiftness from Avram Avinu to fulfill all commandments, but in particular the commandment of tzedakah, of charity. Why that in particular? Because the Alter Rebbe says, unique about charity, something we've spoken about previously, is that charity protects a person. Giving tzedakah is a protective measure. It protects you as tzedakah tatzil mimavis. It saves a person from death and from negative things by being charitable. So, of course, if you are prompt with it, if you do it with swiftness, alacrity, then it's there as a protective agent for you more quickly, as opposed to at the end of the day, maybe you need it in the beginning of the day. This is one of the fruits that charity bears, as opposed to most mitzvahs, or all mitzvahs basically, are the fruit that it bears will be not now, in the world to come, but charity, tzedakah, has something unique that it does bear fruit even now, and it brings protection. And furthermore, the Alter Rebbe says, not only but being that we're judged on a daily basis on high, judged whether we're worthy of the beneficence that is there awaiting for us on high, and it should be funneled, directed towards us. Being charitable is definitely, in a prompt manner, definitely allowing that judgment should be a favorable one. Short and sweet and swift is today's teachings. More to come on this topic. Faribo, thank you for joining. Who else do we have here? One second. Folks, a reminder, Sukkot is coming. We have to bench the lulav and esrog on Sukkot. Make sure you have a lulav, or you have where you can do the blessing of lulav and esrog. Very important. And to sit in a sukkah. Does a positive mitzvah that we intend and say we are to do, if not done speedily, or will it turn into a negative one? It becomes spoiled. It can become spoiled, but it doesn't turn negative. It just isn't, you're not bringing that light of God into your life. Yes, exactly, but you don't delay. Joanne from Switzerland, thank you for joining. Deborah from Florida. Erica from Norway. Avavyud. And who else we have here? Thank you, Clem. Good morning, Ashley. All right, folks, please share the Alter Rebbe's teachings swiftly, promptly. I'm Rabbi Ronnie Fine, coming to you from Chabad Zichron Kedesh in Montreal, Canada, where it's a privilege and a pleasure to share with you the Tanya. Have a wonderful day.